Here we're going to talk about terms and funding within the budget prep process. The fiscal year is the year the budget ends, so it's an accounting year. Typically, the fiscal year starts on the first of a month and ends on the last day of the previous month in the next year. So here we got it starts July 1st, 2018 and ends June 30th, 2019. So you can see we eclipsed an entire year. So sometimes it's easier for this to go and coincide with a calendar year, sometimes it's not. But fiscal year, FY, is always expressed as the end of the budget year. So this would be FY19. So here you can see a graphic that can show you how the budgets work year after year after year. So if we look at a fiscal year 2020, we're going to say you can see where the operating budget spans that entire year, and the closeout of that budget comes in the actual fiscal year 2023. So we'll end the fiscal year 2022, and then while the next budget is taking effect, the closeout of the previous budget is intact. And then you'll see below that where the budget prep process for 2023 actually starts in 2022. And the same thing for the 24 budget getting prepped in 23. So it's just, you can see how the process goes. It's a multi-year process for a one-year budget. So overall, we look at the process of the budget in more of a circular term here. So we're going to talk about, we're going to look at the budget preparation. Then it moves to a submission and approval to an executive director and a board of directors and so forth. Then we have the budget execution, which is that 1 year period where we're actually expenditure of funds and collection of revenue. And then as we close it out, we look at the budget review and we evaluate how good we did with our budget as far as forecasting revenues and expenditures and so forth. All right, let's take a look at a few specific terms. Allocated monies. So this is money that the body that approves the budget has approved for use. So it hasn't been used yet, but it's been approved for general use. Encumbered money is dollars that have been committed to a specific project or expenditure line item but have yet to be paid out. So they're kind of like they're allocated specifically to one thing. And then you have expended monies, and these are ones that this is money that's already been paid out for services and purchases and stuff like that. So let's look at some key components of the budget cycle. So we have the distribution of budget planning documents. So this has come well before the preparation. Then we have the preparation of the revenue estimates. So this is what we're forecasting to bring in the next year in our budget cycle. We have the submission of completed budget request forms. Then we have the preparation of the budget document. So this is for more people to see. This can be distributed. Then we do an internal review. And then we open it to external review. So in some cases, this is public hearings. Then we have the completion of the executive review of the budget, which is our internal review process or part of it. We close public hearings and we submit the budget to a legislative body or a governing board or something like that. Then that body approves it. And then we have the completion of the administrative action altogether. So that's from the beginning as far as the prep to the approval process. We have completed that process for the budget preparation. And then we can move into actually facilitating that budget expenditure of funds and collection of revenue. Then we can look at funding and funds. So funds are unique to government and nonprofit organizations in one way, that we have to position them in a certain way to expend them or to collect them. So there's different categories of income sources are placed in certain pots, if you will. So what I like to look at, there's three main ones, and we'll talk about those a little bit here in a little bit, but there's government, proprietary, and fiduciary. So here we go. Let's talk about these a little bit more specifically. Government fund types look at general fund, special revenue fund, capital projects, and stuff like that. Proprietary fund types include an enterprise fund and internal service funds. And fiduciary fund examples include an expendable trust and non-expendable trust funds. And, overall, you're going to have to look at these depending on what your organization is or what your agency is. Next, we can look at the general fund overall, and this is the most common fund used for governments. It supports all the operations that are not assigned to specific funds. And they typically include things like personnel services, maintenance, supplies, and stuff like that. When we think about government, we can also look at a couple other fund types. The Special Revenue Fund is made up of services provided from revenue that has been specifically designated for that purpose. So if we collect a revenue that's already designated to fulfill one obligation. Capital Projects Fund focuses on the acquisition and construction of major projects or capital projects. And then debt service funds are used to pay long-term debt. Then we can look at special assessment funds, and this consists of money targeted for a specific project or task. So assessments are made to specific individuals or organizations for an identified service or benefit to be received. Okay, so let's look at proprietary funds. These are present in public, nonprofit, and the corporate world. They're designed to provide for ongoing activities such as a self-sustaining operation. Receive the bulk of its revenue from user charges, such as entry fees or memberships and stuff like that, to support the major operation that's going on there. So if you think about this, all the money that you receive for going into a pool or an aquatic center is going right back into the funding for that aquatic center as far as services and stuff like that. And then we can close out by talking about internal service funds, and this is the transfer of money between different departments within the same organization. And then fiduciary funds, and this is used to account for assets received and held in a trust by a government organ or an organization. And that concludes our discussion about terms and funding within budgets.